Hey everyone, let's talk about something that might shock you. Are modern cars actually getting less reliable? Yeah, I know. Sounds crazy, right? You'd think with all the new tech, advanced materials, and decades of engineering, cars today should be bulletproof. But the reality? Well, let's just say things aren't looking great. Recalls are skyrocketing, dealership service centers are packed, and yet we're still being told that new equals better. So, what's really going on here? Buckle up because we're about to break it all down. Now, think about this. If I handed you the keys to a brand new 2024 Toyota Corolla and a well-maintained 1994 Corolla and told you to drive across the country, 3,000 miles with no support, no dealership stops, just you and the car, which one would you trust more? You might assume the newer model is the obvious choice, but hold on a second. The newer car has turbocharged engines, electronic safety systems, and miles of wiring harnesses. Meanwhile, the older Corolla is simple, durable, and built in an era when reliability was king. So, would you really bet against it? The truth is, despite all the advancements in automotive technology, reliability doesn't necessarily improve. In fact, some would argue it's gotten worse. Over the past decade, we've seen record-breaking recalls, increasing dependence on dealership service departments, and horror stories of costly repairs on cars that are barely out of warranty. And here's the kicker. It's not just perception, it's backed by data. Reports from organizations like J.D. Power and Consumer Reports show that modern cars are experiencing more electronic failures and software-related issues than ever before. And yet, manufacturers keep pushing forward with even more tech, even more complexity, and even less user serviceability. So what happened? How did we go from bulletproof Hondas and Toyotas of the 90s to vehicles that rely on software updates to stay functional? Why does a simple oil change now sometimes require a dealership visit just to reset a sensor? And most importantly, should you even bother buying a brand new car, or is an older model actually the smarter choice? Let's break it all down. The golden era of reliability. To understand why modern cars might be less reliable, we have to go back to what many consider the golden era of reliability, the 1990s and early 2000s. This was a time when car manufacturers focused on simplicity, durability, and long-term performance rather than packing vehicles with fragile electronics and unnecessary complexity. Take a look at cars like the Toyota Camry, Honda Civic, or even the Lexus LS400. These were vehicles designed with longevity in mind. They used naturally aspirated engines, basic but effective mechanical components, and fewer electronic systems that could fail over time. No turbochargers that could wear out, no overcomplicated emission systems that require constant maintenance, and no massive infotainment systems that need software updates just to keep functioning. Mechanics from that era will tell you, cars were easier to work on, parts were more affordable, and most importantly, they were built to last. These cars could easily hit 200,000 to 300,000 miles with basic maintenance. In fact, today, you can still see some 90s Civics and Corollas running strong with minimal repairs. Compare that to modern vehicles, where even something as basic as replacing a headlight can require removing entire bumper assemblies, or where a failed touchscreen could mean losing control of critical functions like climate settings. Cars back then were designed to be fixed, whereas today many are designed to be replaced. And let's not forget the materials. Older cars often had simpler, more robust designs with fewer plastic components in critical areas. Modern cars, in an effort to be lightweight and fuel efficient, rely on plastic parts that become brittle over time and fail much sooner than their metal counterparts. So the question is, did we trade reliability for convenience and cost cutting? It sure looks that way. And the worst part? It's only getting worse from here. But before we dive into that, let's take a look at why modern cars have become so much more complicated and why that complexity might be working against them. The complexity problem. Are cars too smart for their own good? Technology is supposed to make our lives easier, right? Well, when it comes to modern cars, it seems like the opposite is happening. Over the past 2 decades, car manufacturers have introduced an overwhelming amount of electronic features, sensors, and computer-controlled systems. While some of these advancements improve safety and convenience, others add layers of complexity that can actually reduce a car's overall reliability. Let's start with one of the biggest culprits: electronics. Older cars had simple wiring systems, basic fuses, and mechanical switches. If a window stopped working, it was probably just a worn-out regulator or a blown fuse, an easy, inexpensive fix. Now, modern cars use sophisticated CAN bus systems, electronic modules, and software-driven controls for even the most basic functions. Something as simple as a power window failure might require reprogramming at the dealership, and a malfunctioning touchscreen can cripple an entire vehicle's climate and entertainment system. Another major issue? Turbocharged engines. While turbo technology has been around for decades, older naturally aspirated engines were simpler and more durable. Modern cars, in an effort to meet strict fuel economy regulations, often come with smaller turbocharged engines that work harder, run hotter, and require more maintenance. And when a turbo fails, it's not a cheap fix. Then there's emissions control technology. Modern cars have complex emission systems, including EGR valves, DPF filters, and electronic fuel injection systems, all designed to reduce pollution. While good for the environment, these systems introduce more points of failure. A clogged DPF filter, for example, can put a car into limp mode, forcing an expensive dealership visit just to restore normal function. And let's not forget about keyless entry, push-button start, and electronic steering systems. Sure, these features are convenient, but they also introduce new failure points. Ever had a key fob battery die and suddenly find yourself locked out of your own car? Or experienced an electronic steering malfunction that requires a complete system reset? These are problems that simply didn't exist in the 90s. The reality is, modern cars are becoming more like rolling computers than mechanical machines. And just like your laptop or smartphone, they require software updates, patches, and occasional reboots. But here's the thing: when a car relies too much on technology, even minor electronic failures can leave you stranded. And worse, many of these repairs can't be done in your driveway. You're often at the mercy of dealerships and specialized mechanics who have the proprietary tools and software to fix them. So, is all this technology actually making cars better, or is it just making them more fragile and expensive to maintain? Well, we're not done yet. In the next section, we'll talk about another key reason why modern cars might not last as long as their predecessors: planned obsolescence and cost-cutting measures that put profits over durability. Planned obsolescence. Are modern cars built to fail? One of the biggest reasons modern cars feel less reliable is because they are, quite literally, designed that way. Welcome to the world of planned obsolescence, where manufacturers prioritize short-term profits over long-term durability. In the past, automakers took pride in engineering vehicles that could last decades. But today, many modern cars are built with lower-quality materials, proprietary parts, and software locks that make repairs difficult for independent mechanics. Some manufacturers even limit access to diagnostic tools, forcing owners to rely on dealerships for expensive repairs. Think about subscription-based features, something that would have been unthinkable 20 years ago. BMW, for example, tried charging a monthly fee for heated seats. Other brands are locking performance upgrades behind paywalls. This isn't just inconvenient. It's a sign that manufacturers are moving away from consumer-friendly designs. And when parts fail, They fail faster. Plastic coolant reservoirs crack, turbochargers wear out prematurely, and electronic components become obsolete within a few years. So instead of driving a car for 15, 20 years like before, many consumers are pushed into new purchases sooner than ever. But let's get into specifics. How exactly are manufacturers making cars less durable? First, let's talk about the materials being used. Older cars were built with more metal components, thicker steel panels, and simpler mechanical parts. Today's vehicles, in an effort to reduce weight and increase fuel efficiency, rely heavily on plastic, composite materials, and aluminum. While lighter materials help with fuel economy, they also wear out faster. Plastic intake manifolds can crack, electronic throttle bodies fail, and even engine components like timing chain guides, once made of metal, are now plastic and prone to breaking. Then there's the issue of proprietary parts. In the 90s, if you needed a new alternator or water pump, you could often find an aftermarket part at any auto parts store. Today, many components are manufacturer-specific, meaning you're forced to buy expensive OEM replacements. Worse yet, some parts come with software locks that prevent third-party mechanics from replacing or reprogramming them without dealership approval. And don't even get me started on software updates. Modern cars are increasingly dependent on software to function properly. While this allows for over-the-air updates and new features, it also means that manufacturers can intentionally limit functionality. Some automakers have even been caught disabling features in used cars unless the new owner pays an additional fee. Want to unlock your full battery range on an electric vehicle? Some brands charge extra for that. Need a new key fob? Be ready to pay hundreds of dollars for programming that was once a simple DIY task. The reality is that planned obsolescence isn't just a theory, it's a business model. Automakers want you to lease or finance a new vehicle every few years, rather than keeping the same car for decades. And by making modern cars more difficult to repair, more expensive to maintain, and more dependent on software, they're ensuring a steady stream of revenue from service departments and new vehicle sales. So, is there any way to fight back against this trend? Are there still reliable cars being made today? Or should we all just start hoarding 90s Toyotas and Hondas while we still can? That's what we'll dive into next. The cost of modern repairs, is it worth it? As technology has evolved, so too have the costs associated with owning and maintaining modern vehicles. Once upon a time, basic repairs like replacing a battery, changing brake pads, or even swapping out an alternator could be accomplished by most DIYers or local mechanics with minimal fuss and at a fraction of the cost. Today, however, even seemingly simple repairs are often far more expensive and complicated thanks to the growing reliance on advanced electronics, specialized tools, and proprietary parts. One of the driving forces behind the soaring repair costs is the increasing complexity of modern vehicles. Let's talk about the modern air conditioning system. In older cars, if the AC stopped blowing cold air, it was often a simple fix, perhaps a refrigerant recharge or a blown fuse. But now, air conditioning involves diagnosing an electronic control module, checking sensors, testing compressors, and potentially dealing with expensive parts like condenser coils. The labor costs to access and repair these systems have risen dramatically. In fact, according to RepairPal, the average cost to repair an air conditioning system in a modern vehicle can range from $200 to $1,000, depending on the issue, whereas similar work on older cars might only set you back $100 to $300. This complexity isn't limited to air conditioning. The days of easy fixes for small parts are behind us. Take, for example, changing a headlight bulb. In some newer models, replacing a simple bulb can require removing entire bumpers, wheel wells, or other parts of the car just to access the bulb. According to a 2021 survey by the Consumer Reports, some car models, particularly those with LED or xenon headlights, can cost upwards of $1,000 to replace a single bulb, a far cry from the $20 it would cost for a simple bulb change on an older vehicle. And that's before factoring in the labor charges, which can easily add hundreds of dollars to the bill. Even more problematic is the reliance on specialized software for diagnostics and repairs. Unlike the simpler mechanical systems of the past, modern vehicles are controlled by sophisticated software and electronic control units, ECUs, that regulate everything from engine performance to airbag deployment. When something goes wrong, it's not just a matter of replacing a part. Often, it's a matter of getting the car's onboard computers to communicate properly with one another. A malfunctioning sensor or failed module could mean a visit to the dealership, where the only option might be to pay for an expensive diagnostic session followed by a software update or complete reflash of the system. According to a 2020 report from J.D. Power, nearly 50% of all vehicles on the road today require some form of software-related service, and this number is only expected to rise as cars become more reliant on electronics. Moreover, some manufacturers have introduced digital paywalls for repairs. One of the most eye-opening examples of this trend came from BMW, which tried to charge customers a monthly subscription fee for access to features like heated seats. Yes, heated seats, an option that, in the past, would have been a simple feature you could enjoy without needing a monthly subscription. This move caused an uproar among car buyers, as it represents a broader trend of manufacturers prioritizing profit from software and services over the durability and longevity of their vehicles. Then there's the ever-present issue of proprietary parts. In the past, you could visit a local auto parts store or visit an independent mechanic to find affordable parts for your car, many of which could be swapped out with basic tools. Today, car manufacturers are increasingly moving toward using proprietary parts that only authorized dealers can supply, driving up the price of replacement components. Some parts, such as certain engine components or unique electronic modules, can only be repaired or replaced at authorized dealerships, which significantly drives up both the cost and the time it takes to get your car back on the road. In fact, a 2019 study by the Automotive Aftermarket Suppliers Association, AASA, found that car owners spent nearly 50% more on parts and service for newer cars compared to older models. Additionally, the shift toward electric vehicles, EVs, and hybrid cars has introduced another layer of complexity and expense. EVs require specialized training to repair, and while they have fewer moving parts than traditional internal combustion engines, the high-voltage batteries and electric drivetrains can be very costly to replace. A report from Consumer Reports showed that the average cost to replace a battery in an electric vehicle can range from $5,000 to $15,000 depending on the make and model. Compare that to the relatively simple cost of maintaining and repairing older vehicles with traditional engines. It's worth noting that despite all the advancements in materials and technology, many modern cars still have flaws in their durability. For example, many newer vehicles are built with lightweight materials like plastic and aluminum to improve fuel efficiency. While this helps with mileage, these materials often wear out faster and are more prone to cracking and breaking. According to a report from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, a significant portion of cars on the road today are experiencing premature plastic part failures, such as broken bumpers, cracked dash panels, and malfunctioning window regulators, all common issues that weren't as prevalent in older, more robustly built vehicles. So, with all these costs and complications piling up, it's no wonder many people are starting to question whether it's even worth it to buy a brand new car. Sure, Modern vehicles come with all the bells and whistles, advanced safety systems, cutting-edge infotainment, and greater fuel efficiency. But these features often come with hidden costs, both in terms of repair bills and long-term reliability. For many consumers, it might make more sense to look into used cars, especially from the 90s or early 2000s, which are simpler and have a proven track record of reliability. Older models, particularly those from brands like Toyota, Honda, and Subaru, are known for their longevity and ease of repair. Cars from this era didn't rely on complex electronics, and their mechanical systems were much easier to maintain and fix without the need for a costly visit to the dealership. In fact, some people are even going so far as to restore older cars, buying models that were once considered disposable and bringing them back to life with modern parts and attention to detail. And while these cars may lack the latest tech, they offer something that modern vehicles increasingly lack: the ability to be easily serviced, repaired, and maintained by their owners or independent mechanics. So, as the cost of modern repairs continues to rise, more and more consumers may start asking themselves if it's worth it to keep investing in high-tech, high-maintenance cars, or if the simpler, more reliable models from the past might actually be the smarter choice. After all, it's hard to put a price on peace of mind and the satisfaction of knowing your car can last for hundreds of thousands of miles with relatively few problems. The bottom line, is newer really better? As we've explored, the modern automotive landscape is far more complex and costly than ever before. The high-tech features, fancy electronics, and turbocharged engines that manufacturers tout as advancements in their vehicles don't always translate into increased reliability or durability. While these features may seem attractive at first, they often bring with them a host of complications that can lead to costly repairs, software glitches, and reduced longevity. Let's take a look at some key stats and data that further highlight these growing concerns. Recalls. In 2022, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, recorded over 30 million vehicles being recalled in the United States alone. This was the highest number on record and represents a significant increase in the frequency of recalls compared to previous decades. In fact, as recently as 2014, the number of recalls per year was half of what we see today. These recalls often stem from issues with electrical systems, infotainment, and safety features, areas where older vehicles were far less complicated and less prone to failure. Electronics and software. A study by J.D. Power in 2020 revealed that electronics-related issues were the most common complaints among new car owners. These included problems with infotainment systems, Bluetooth connectivity, and even things like malfunctioning sensors or cameras. A growing number of vehicles require software updates to fix problems that could have been avoided with simpler mechanical designs. In fact, according to a report by Deloitte, 40% of car owners said that they felt overwhelmed by the sheer amount of technology in their vehicles, and 22% stated that they had experienced issues with the electronic systems in their cars within the first 2 years of ownership. Vehicle longevity. A key argument in favor of older cars is their ability to last. According to the 2021 Auto Repair Cost Guide by RepairPal, the average car on the road in the U.S. today is around 12 years old. This is a significant increase from the 8-10 years typical in the early 2000s. However, while this indicates that people are holding on to their cars for longer, it also highlights the fact that many modern vehicles, due to their reliance on expensive, complex technology, aren't necessarily designed to last as long as older models. The shift towards using lighter, less durable materials and the reliance on specialized software is leading many newer cars to experience problems much earlier than their predecessors. So when we compare this with the past, say the 1990s or early 2000s, the contrast is stark. Cars like the Toyota Corolla, Honda Accord, and Nissan Altima of those years were famously durable. They could easily reach 200,000 to 300,000 miles without major issues, requiring only basic maintenance. A recent study by Consumer Reports showed that vehicles from the late 90s and early 2000s are some of the most reliable on the road today. For instance, the 1997 Honda Accord is still one of the longest-lasting vehicles on the road, and many of these models are now considered classic vehicles due to their simplicity and mechanical reliability. But what does all this mean for today's car buyers? Is there a better path forward? The fact of the matter is, buying a car today is far more complicated than it used to be. On the one hand, modern vehicles offer superior safety features, more fuel-efficient engines, and advanced technology that can enhance the driving experience. On the other hand, they come with increased complexity, frequent recalls, and repair costs that can quickly escalate. When you throw in the rise of electric vehicles, the potential for expensive battery replacements, and the growing difficulty of fixing cars without specialized tools or knowledge, the question becomes even murkier. For many consumers, the decision between a brand new car and a well-maintained older model ultimately comes down to personal priorities. If you value the latest tech and are willing to pay a premium for the convenience of advanced features like lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and state-of-the-art infotainment systems, a new car might still be the way to go. However, if you value reliability, lower repair costs, and the ability to maintain your vehicle without needing a degree in computer science, then an older car might be the better investment. In fact, for many people, owning an older car that's been well cared for is becoming an attractive proposition. It's not just about keeping up with the latest trends. It's about enjoying a vehicle that's simpler, more durable, and far easier to repair. Vintage car restorations have seen a surge in popularity in recent years, as people seek out vehicles that don't come with the headaches and hidden costs of modern cars. In conclusion, while the allure of a brand new car can be strong, it's clear that the reliability and longevity of modern vehicles have been significantly compromised by the increasing complexity of their designs. Car manufacturers may boast about their latest advancements, but these come with a price: the increased likelihood of breakdowns, expensive repairs, and an overall decrease in reliability. So, is newer always better? Not necessarily. While modern cars have many perks, they also come with a host of issues that might make an older, simpler vehicle a more attractive option. The golden era of automotive reliability, exemplified by vehicles from the 90s and early 2000s, might be over, but it's not gone. It's still very much alive in the form of used cars that continue to offer great value for those who know how to take care of them. The bottom line: the choice between new and old isn't just about age. It's about what kind of driving experience you want and what you're willing to sacrifice in terms of reliability, repair costs, and long-term durability. In the end, what truly matters is that your car works for you, whether it's a brand new tech-laden marvel or a trusty old machine that keeps going for decades.